Hello. Hello, everyone. Let me switch things over. Ah, there we are. Okay. Hello and welcome. Just doing some little adjustments here. Hope everyone's having a good day and or night, whatever time it is for you. Appreciate you for, showing up at such short notice, as my streams tend to be. I don't rock a schedule. But I do what I can. I'm glad you could be here. Let's see. Yes, hello Disteffer, hello Lilac. Welcome, welcome. And Mooey Wyvern, or Wyvern. I've heard that word said both ways. Thank you for subscribing and following and all that jazz. I appreciate it. Finish, hello. Perfect timing, you just ran out of stuff to watch? I am sorry to hear that. I am in the process of uploading a video for members right now. It'll be up sometime today if the upload goes all right. Sometimes it gets a little finicky, but it should be up today, I hope. Yeah, members get to see my child story quest playthrough today. That's going to be a thing. So, how's it going? Lost my lobster. Hi, welcome. I'm all right. I'm doing okay right now. I'm just woke up, made a list of what I had to do today, which, you know, and one of them on it was a Genshin book stream, because I said if I write it down, that means I have to do it. And I wrote it down last night, forcing myself to do it today. So that's where I'm at. I'm kind of like, you know, making myself do things. Hello, Darren. Hello, hello. Einery. Einery? Einery? I'm sorry. I'm pronouncing that wrong. I want to say Einery. Like, I want to say Ein. Did Child redeem himself in your eyes a little bit? Oh, quite the opposite. No, I give Child a fair, I think a fair assessment in my opinion. Like, I don't want to say I went into the mission still feeling the way I felt, but like being relatively open and like, okay, this could be a thing. But if you want to know, not really. Child is not redeemed in the slightest. There's some things that I agree with what he says, but he's also a huge hypocrite, so I can't do it. Do these only members' contents get published on ordinary schedule after some period of time has passed? No. Yes and no, Darren. What happens is that the members get the uncut footage, which means I do very little editing to it. Like, I might have a fade in, I might have a note here or there in text. I have like a thank you for watching screen at the end, but for the most part, if I get up and use the bathroom or something halfway through a recording, I'll cut that out. But for the most part, it's the uncut story. So you get to see me get sidetracked and travel around and splurge all my extra thoughts that I have during it. Everyone else does eventually get to see it. It's just an edited form, and you just have to wait a little longer. For example, the stuff that you're seeing right now of me doing the Liyue Archon quest happened over a month ago. But my members got to see that a lot sooner, and they saw the full version of it without all the cuts and the jokes from my awesome editor. So that's pretty much it. That's what members get. They get the uncut stuff. There's some other random videos in there too that I used to make, which I do want to start making again. But yeah, it's just like the full thing. No pressure to become a member or anything like that. I do try to keep it cheap. I compared a lot of the other the other Genshin creators that did have a thing, or just like other YouTubers in general, really. And a lot of people start at $4.99 for their memberships. To get access to my uncut stuff, I made it $2.99 because I wanted it to be a little more fair. Even though I'm kind of kicking myself and I should have made it $4.99, but it is what it is. Yeah. Quite nice to hear that, actually. Yeah. Members get to pay money to watch him be ADHD and scatterbrain before everyone else. Volcano's not wrong. He's not wrong. That is something. Not being a member, you have the more edited, streamlined experience. If you are a member, you get to see me lose my shit more often. by not focusing or getting stuck on stuff or um, just rambling off ideas as I play the game. So that's it. Stop doing the sound alerts, Volcano. Stop it. Stop it. I'm not gonna fix them. Not for you. I should really fix them one of these days. At the same time, if I'm going to be doing these reading streams, you're just going to be a troll the whole time and do sound alerts. Because I know you have all the channel points in the world to do that. You're not the boss of me. Technically... Anyway. You're right, I can't tell you what to do. Alright. Alright, guys. Glad you could make it. This isn't going to be a super long stream because I have other things to do today. I'm gonna read off the things that I have to do today as far as oh, I actually have to add more to this list. But right now, on the top of my list, is I have to continue editing the fight tier list that I did. You guys can watch the full thing on my VOD channel if you want to, but I just put all the clips together, like I just edited out all the in-between stuff that I wanted to. And now I just have to like work on like my zooms and the background music and all that stuff. So I have to do that today. No one cares about this list. I don't know why I'm reading it. And then I have to work on another video. I started a script forever ago and I decided like I'm gonna rewrite this and I'm gonna finish it at some point. And that video involves Amber. So that's my plan today. So far. Oh, and upload the members thing as well. I have to do that too. Still working on that. But okay. Let's do this. Does anyone know when I can't say her name, Sijwin, when her demo comes out? Is there a day for that? Because I know her teaser came out and I haven't watched it yet. Because I was waiting for her demo so I could do both at the same time. Tomorrow, most likely? Okay. So I guess that's what I'm doing tomorrow. Okay. Alright. Tomorrow, 12 p.m. GMT. Okay. Right. Okay, so that's going to be another video that'll be coming out relatively soonish. Okay. Books. We're going to have some story time. I think I'm just going to read another 3 books and then we'll probably call the stream because of the stuff I got to do today. But we're okay with that, right? Let's see. Records of Juyun. Heart of Clear Springs. Tales from the Waves. Moonlit Bamboo Forest. A Drunkard's Tale. I kind of want to read a Drunkard's Tale. I've had that forever. Customs of Lila. Records of the Gallant. Breeze amidst the forest. String of Pearls. Heart's Desire. Legend of the Lone Sword. The Mondstadt Tower. Okay. The Legend of the Shattered Halberd is the crazy one. Okay, so it's not this one. Is that a finished book? Like a finished series? As far as being available in the game itself. Because we have this here. Is this not completed? Wait. This is completed. Right? I'm not missing any of these. I could read this. Am I blind? How come that wasn't under collected? Or was it? And I just can't see. No, that's not listed here. What? I've been lied to? Oh no, I guess I don't have all of it. Oh duh! 3, I can't count. 2, 3. I'm sorry guys. Hey, did I mention that I went to art school? Yeah. Yeah, the Shattered Halbert's the one you're thinking of, Einery. Yeah, 6 parts. I need to wait. I need to get the other parts. Volume 2 and Volume 3. Damn. Okay. One day. I imagine Volume 2 and 3 exist in the game somewhere. If I have to look up where to find them to get them at some point, I will. I'd like to read it in its entirety. If possible. Okay. I'm gonna read Heart of Clear Springs to start, and then we'll go from there. Can be found by fast traveling to Stonegate Waypoint. Okay. Let me write that down so I can do that later. Where's Stonegate Waypoint? Is that in Liyue? Oh, okay. Sure. Storyteller in Liyue. Okay. Cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. Awesome. I'll make sure to get those. Okay. I'm going to start with this right here. Okay. Heart of Clear Springs. Volume 1. Under the Cascading Moonlight. A tearful... Before I continue! How's my volume and such? Do I sound too loud? Am I too quiet? Sounds okay. Thank you, Steffer. Okay. I will just read then. Okay. Volume 1. Under the Cascading Moonlight. A tearful boy made his wish at the spring. A fairy from afar, who had taken up residence in an unoccupied spring, listened in silence to his wordless wish. Spring fairies know nothing of distant memories or deep dreams. They are born of water's essence, faceless descendants of the angels. Thus, when the curious fairy emerged from the water and heard the cry of that boy's heart, she became interested in this life, younger and more fragile than her own. The silent fairy reached out her formless fingers, cold as the midnight dew and soft as fortune's foregone, and gently caressed the boy's forehead and cheeks. Startled by this stranger's touch, the young boy lifted his head and met the fairy's gaze. "Can you make my wish come true?" the boy asked. The fairy of the spring was surprised and confused by this presumptuous question. But she could not speak, and so simply nodded her head. Satisfied, the boy left. He did not know that the spring fairy was alone, without friends or family, and that she had lost a great deal of her wisdom. Only when the spring water flowed from cracks in the stone into her pool, and when she gazed upon the fractured image of the moon in the rippling water, did she slowly regain the ability to think, and to mimic fragments of speech. Like a curious child, the fairy observed the world around her in innocence, wonder, and love. She rejoiced with the fox and squirrel who stole berries, and grieved at the dark clouds that covered the horizon. And for that young boy, a feeling complex yet immature welled forth from within her heart. All alone in this world, she had neither the power nor wisdom with which to grant his wish, but she could share it, and she drew life from sharing his burdens. Okay. Hello, Rex. Welcome. Okay. Volume 2. As he gazed at the fractured image of the moon carried by the water's ripples, the boy poured his heart out to the spring. From within his words, she learned much of him, and from her silence, he strengthened his belief in himself. Dimly, the spring fairy understood that there was good in the world beyond moonlight, and fruits and more to darkness than mere clouds. The boy spoke to her of forests and trees, cities and walls, and shared with her his joys, his sorrows, and his fears. As she listened to him, she became enamored of this imperfect world into which she had been born. When the boy grew frustrated at his powerlessness, the spring fairy would gently and quietly wipe away his tears. From them, she grew to understand the world outside the spring a little more. Those tears flowed into the water, and the fairy purified them, turning them into a sweet nectar that brought him sweet dreams. The boy forgot the pain of his waking hours, and met the silent fairy by her spring in his sleep. Every time that happened, the fairy too would smile, asleep in the pool drenched in the moonlight. The fresh dew nourished the boy's dreams, and the boy's dreams rejuvenated the lonely fairy's soul. In those dreams, the spring fairy told the boy tales of the faraway realm of Hydro. She spoke of her sapphire blue homeland. She sang of the homesickness of exile, and she sighed for separation and belonging. In these dreams, the boy became the one who silently listened, who wept for her troubles, and who rejected in her happiness. Rejoiced, not rejected, and who rejoiced in her happiness. Sorry. Over time, the spring fairy gained the power of speech from the boy's memories and dreams. Over time, they became friends who shared all. This feels like my childhood all over again. I feel like I have my dad reading me a bedtime story. Good. Volume 3. When the wind ceased to blow, the moon's fractured reflection in the pool was made whole, and the boy heard the fairy's voice for the first time. Fairies are tender, sensitive beings beyond the ken of humans, and the boy was deeply taken by her gentle, elegiac voice. I don't know what that word is. I imagine elegant, but anyway. But fairies being tender and sensitive beyond human ken, through his eyes She saw his naked yearning and the promise that was about to leave his lips. And suddenly, the fairy was afraid. Mortal lives are strong but fleeting, and the boy must grow, and grow old. Once youth and innocence had faded, how would he treat his elemental descendants? In the twilight of his life, would he blame himself for throwing his life away for a childish promise? The spring fairy was pure and kind, but she did not understand human love. She had never seen the miracle of humanity, and had merely sat idle through millennia of change. And so, she greatly feared parting. What humans see as the miracle of devotion, elemental fairies can only perceive as fleeting pleasure, and even the power of fairies cannot reverse the aging of a loved one. The tender fairy could not bear to see the unavoidable day come, and with a kiss she stopped the boy from uttering the words. But the boy, in his innocence, mistook her rejection as her approval of his promise. From that moment, the fairy vowed that she would someday bear to leave him, and the boy vowed that he would remain by her spring forever. This is sad. This is oof. Remember this book whenever you react to 4-1's poetry event, okay? Roshi ASMR gameplay when? Alright, I'm gonna kill this hilly troll. I'm gonna stab him in the face. Watch this. There, he was stabbed in the face. I win. Eat that, you little bitch. Ouch's story hits so different after almost 4 years of game. Yeah, I'm not trying to think about it too hard right now, but like they mentioned the land of Hydro, and like I'm trying to keep Fontaine's stuff like out of my head. But yeah, I feel like this is very symbolic for things. Right. Okay, volume 4, right? Okay. By and by, the young boy grew up, made new friends, and had new experiences. And the spring fairy, as she had in his youth, sang him her quiet elegies each time. I don't know this word. Elegies? Her quiet elegies each one, till the day came at last, when she left and gazed no more upon the boy. Never again did words flow forth from the trickling sound of the spring. Never again would the fractured moon become whole. The spring fairy suddenly realized that, though she had found a place to belong, and though she had experienced fleeting happiness, she was still alone. My mind's going crazy right now. The boy, now no longer a boy, could not perceive her flight, and blamed himself for his own solitude. Perhaps she was merely a childish fantasy. He would think this to himself as he listened to the gurgling of the spring. But that cool kiss was real, as was the wind that once played with her hair. Suddenly he realized that though he had met and parted with countless new friends, and though he had adventured and returned more times than he could remember, he was still alone in the end. So, as they had done many years ago, the boy's tears fell into the pure pond, soaking into the fractured moon. But this time, the spring fairy did not come as promised. Stubbornly, she turned her back, willing to be the object of an innocent childhood dream, to be a fleeting guest wandering from a foreign land, but unwilling to allow her near eternal life to break her lover's promise. Legend has it that whenever the rain pours down, the raindrops that fall into the pond mix with the tears of the spring fairy. To his dying day, the boy believed wholeheartedly in this groundless superstition. But sadly, the spring fairy who fled from her true feelings could never believe it herself. Ugh! My heart. um. Oh, is it just my headphones, or is the video slightly behind the audio? Guessing it's something on my end. I think it's you finish. I think pausing and unpausing fixed it. Okay, good. Good. I'm glad. Okay. Oh, hello, Saint. Hello. Welcome. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of mention of the moon, like the water, the raindrops, the promise, just like the idea of this essentially this unkept promise due to misunderstanding. A lot of things are screaming Fontaine right now to me. And I'm like making comparisons to like what maybe the overall story, not the overall story, but elements of the story could be. As far as like, sorry, moments in this I think are alluding to things that could possibly happen in Fontaine's Archon quest. Those are the words I was looking for. Don't know that for sure, and I'm not trying to think about it too much. Because I think if I just go on a roll and spill all of my thoughts, I'm gonna get confirmation in the chat, and I don't want confirmation. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's kind of. I don't know shit about Paimon. So, yeah, Mondstadt and Leo both have moon in their names too. That is true. They do. They know what they're doing. Okay, let's read another one here. Drunkard's Tale. I'm going to do Drunkard's Tale. Because I've had this forever. So might as well. Okay. I did fish her out of the ocean. I did. Okay. A Drunkard's Tale, Volume 1. In the land where the dandelion wine flows like a river, tall tales have a way of spreading far and wide, following closely in the wake of the whiff of wine. Far-fetched fables are always sure to spread when boasted between burps by inebriated bar patrons. For those stories share something in common with the slurred speech and seasickness-inducing swaying that so often accompanies them, which is that despite being clumsy and awkward, they are also highly entertaining. Legend has it that there was once a famous drunkard in Mondstadt. It was said that he could hold his alcohol as well as any hunter from Springvale in the off-season. And yet, still he would drink till he was drunk. Every time that he drank, he would not budge so much as an inch back from the bar at the tavern until not a single more was left in his coin pouch, and not a single drop of wine remained in his glass. One night this drunkard was doing his best to stumble home after a particularly satisfying session of especially heavy drinking. A combination of his spinning head, blurred vision, and zigzagging stride served to navigate him towards a forest populated by wolves. Today, of course, wolfdom is presided over by the great Wolf King of the North. We've met him. And the ominous atmosphere that emanates from inside the forest is sufficient to deter most sober-headed visitors from approaching the area. According to the elderly hunters, the Wolf King gathered the spirits of the wolves there to prevent outsiders from trespassing into territory where they are not welcome. But this was an age long before the Wolf King in the north and the north wind had descended upon that forest, bringing order and peace to the wolven race. At that time, the forest was a perilous place where wild wolves fought for survival. A fierce blood feud between wolves played out deep inside the dense foliage, concealed from view and unbeknownst to any human. Least of all to the drunkard, who had by this point managed to transport his drunken self quite some distance inside the forest. He stumbled forward in the darkness with that dodge, determination, and only drunkards possess. God. Drunken Master. Deterred neither by the tree roots that would trip him up every few steps, nor by the stray branches that would slyly slap him in the face from time to time. Before long, a pair of green eyes began darting through the forest, their gaze fixed on him, tracking his every move. Those eyes belonged to a lone wolf, who silently pursued the drunkard from behind, all the while musing to itself, "This is the most peculiar sight I have ever seen in all of my life." No one had dared set foot in the wolves' forest in hundreds of years. But be they a knight clad toe to toe in shining steel armor, or a desperate fugitive dressed in rags, even the callous nobles refused to exile their slaves there, for fear of inciting the wrath of the wild wolves and bringing unwanted trouble to their own territory. And yet, this odd fellow dares to stroll in here all by himself. How very strange indeed. The lone wolf pondered this strange phenomenon as it followed the drunken intruder through the forest, doing its best to ignore the stench of alcohol that was wafting its way. Okay. Volume 2. It is a well-known fact that wolves have a far keener sense of smell than humans. Another way of putting this is that their noses are much more sensitive. Little wonder, then, that the stench of alcohol emanating from the wolf's now historically intoxicated prey was quite stifling, and caused tears to well up in its eyes. Thank you for the follow, Midzim. Thank you for the follow, Zim. Ow! The wolf thought to itself. Having been born in the wilderness and grown up in the forest, the wolf had never had any contact with human civilization before this night, and though it had once caught the faint scent of wine wafting across Cider Lake, it did not know the scent's origin, less still understood the significance of the substance to humankind. Perhaps this peculiar fellow is a relative of the skunk, for it seems that he discovered my presence quite some time ago, and now means to poison me in an effort to secure his escape. The wolf pondered this possibility as it braced itself against the onslaught of alcoholic fumes, picked up its pace, and discreetly maneuvered its way into the drunkard's shadow, the perfect vantage point from which to inspect its prey. The wolf is a creature of caution and calculation. The drunkard, meanwhile, is a different sort of creature entirely. And yet, though wine tends to dizzy the mind and dull the senses, it sometimes affords its consumers the curious capacity to detect the subtlest of changes in the direction of the wind. Perhaps this could explain how a bumbling drunkard fumbling through the forest was suddenly able to discover the presence of a wolf that had been stealthily following him the entire time. Or perhaps the alcoholic fumes given off by the drunkard were sufficiently potent to diminish the wolf's mental acuity, to the point that the wolf became less mindful of the terrain beneath its paws. the resulting sound of snapping twigs, thus altering the prey to the predator's presence. "Who's that? Don't suppose you know which way the toilet is by any chance?" The bubbling drunkard rubbed his bleary eyes. "Foul-smelling human," snarled the wolf. "Who are you? And whence proceeds your stench?" The wolf flared its nostrils, bored its fangs, and growled. Not only was the drunkard unafraid when he heard the wolf's gruffly voiced threat, but he even became quite animated. "My friend," the drunkard replied, "clearly I've offended you somehow. Sorry about that. But anyway, Mondstadt tradition says you're not allowed to be drunk and bored at the same time. So, here we are, out in the woods on this glorious moonlight night. How about I tell you a story?" His proposal was promptly punctuated by an almighty belch. Before this point, the wolf had no intention of listening to the belching buffoon's drunken ramblings. In fact, it was poised to deliver a fatal blow to its prey by lunging for the neck, sinking its fangs in and tearing his throat clean out. But the drunkard's belch blasted a further bout of fumes in the wolf's direction, assailing its nostrils with such force that it ruined the wolf's appetite entirely. Grudgingly, the wolf agreed. "Perhaps I'm not so hungry after all. Let's see what nonsense tale you have to tell." The drunkard stretched out his arms and let out a loud yawn, disturbing a few dandelions in the process. And with that, the drunkard began to tell his tale. Secondhand drunk wolf. Yeah. Roshi VA arc. Man, I wish. I don't even know how to start anything like that, but that would be fun. Okay. Legend tells of a lone wolf that roamed a barren wasteland far, far away. Once he had been king of his pack, leading them in the hunt, in battle, and in the search for a home. Now, the sole remaining legacy of those days were the scars that covered his body. He had led the way as they ran across open plains, navigated through abandoned ruins, and passed through the domains of monsters and the Seelie. The wasteland was a cruel place. The Wolf King grew older with each passing day, and the other wolves gradually dispersed. As time went by, the wolf pack's history faded into distant memory, until finally only the aged Wolf King remained, the sole survivor of its pack. This wasteland is said to be a land beyond the dominion of deities, inhabited only by the grotesque ghostly remains of fallen gods, where the former palaces of the Seelie now stand empty. So when the solitary old wolf passed by a gray palace and heard the sound of music coming from within, it caught its attention. Never before have I heard a sound so pleasing to the ears, whether it be a song of bird or insect, that it stays the pangs of hunger in my starved stomach as this tune does. Intrigued, the wolf stepped inside the gray hall, trod across the overgrown weeds, and passed by a broken sarcophagus, on which a portrait of the deceased ruler was still clearly visible. Finally, he came to an inner room, where he saw a fair maiden strumming at her instrument. Her skin was ashen white, and her head was bowed down, her slender fingers gently stroking the fragile strings of the lute as she played a song forgotten and mournful melody. The wolf sat down in front of the pale young maiden, forgot all about the pain of hunger, thirst, and loneliness for a short while, as it listened in silence to her song. The chirping of insects on a long-gone autumn night is the chorus of exiles, singing mankind's most ancient song as they live out their plight. Stripped of all that the body once held close to the soul once held dear, songs and memories are all that now remain of yesteryear. The last singers, the first Seelie, they played their final tune in the Hall of Angels. The tiny Seelie playing in the forest were also drawn to the young maiden's tune and flocked to her to pay their respects. "What is this song that you play?" the wolf asked, puzzled, for it understood every line, every word, every syllable she spoke. And yet, hers was a language that it had never heard before, quite unlike that of any other living being. "A song of the Seelie," replied the pale young maiden in a soft voice. "Long, long ago, we wrote this song for the human savages, yet now we sing it to mourn our own fate." The wolf began to sing along, albeit clumsily, to the maiden's tune. The wolf's voice was husky and broken, filled with a lifetime of sorrow. "What are you singing?" the maiden asked of the wolf. "This is our song," responded the wolf. "It sounds ghastly." The maiden made no attempt to soften her criticism as she continued to caress the lute strings. "But you are welcome to sing along with me all the same." And so, a shared chorus sung by fair young maiden and weary old wolf filled the chambers of the long-abandoned palace. It is said that to this day, adventurers who pass by this place still hear a strange yet harmonious melody sounding from within. And then, the story ends there? The wolf licked its lips, somewhat ruefully, and then said, "I suppose I shall tell you a story now." And with that, the wolf cleared its throat and began to tell its tale. All right. I already have a theory about this. Legend has it that the first wine of Mondstadt was brewed in the age when the north wind howled. In the age when the kings of ice and frost fought for dominion, Mondstadt forebears brewed rudimentary wine and from wild fruits. Even as they shivered in the biting cold, they did so to ease the pain of their frostbitten fingers and to give them the courage to face the harsh and unforgiving ice. For at that time, the land of Mondstadt was engulfed by ice and snow, and the dandelions had not yet reared their heads. It is said that the first person in Mondstadt to discover the craft of wine brewing was a grossly negligent guard. In a tribe beset of blizzards on all sides, it was the unenviable job of the hardy hunter-gatherers to stock the storage pits with food, and it was the guard's task to guard against intruders. The sight of human intruders was a rare one indeed in that harsh environments, but there were other creatures who could better withstand the cold, and they would burrow underground to reach the food stocks. The rules of the tribe were that one person should inspect the storage pits at all times, filling in any mouse holes discovered, or better still, catching them red-handed, an act of pilfering to keep the tribe's food supplies at plentiful levels. At that time, the damp, dark caves needed constant care and attention to prevent the food they had held from going bad and rotting. On top of this, the mischievous little creatures that hid away out of sight would sometimes play pranks on the guards. One day, a wily wind spirit noticed that this grossly negligent guard was once again being grossly negligent. So, the spirit took the form of a fox and crept into a pile of wild apples. There, it caused yeast to grow, ripening the apples and causing them to ferment. The grossly negligent guard was ravenous when he returned, and elected to partake of one of the apples. The mellow taste of fermented fruit delighted both his body and his mind. Immediately, he took animal hide and squeezed the juice from the apples, creating wine. The grossly negligent guard, who first invented brewing in the age of ice and snow, also became Mondstadt's first drunkard. It is said that he was the first person ever to fall into a drunken dream. And his first drunken dream, he drunkenly entered the dream of a lone wolf somewhere in the long past, in the long lost past, or possibly the far flung future. He fought fang and claw with rival wolf packs, battled with humans for food in the midst of a raging snowstorm, and met the first Seelie. The tribe-dwelling human and the pack-dwelling wolf could not bear to live in solitude. This newly brewed wine served to bring man and wolf together in their dreams. But their attitudes towards these dreams were poles apart. The human who knew only the wind and snow yearned for the wasteland where the lone wolf runs freely, but the lone wolf was fearful of the human's desire. It could not understand why this human was captivated by dangerous illusions and sought hope from within them. What concerned the wolf even more was that when in a drunken human dream, it could no longer distinguish whether it was a wolf or human with a woven spirit. So the wolf swore an oath never to touch the human's poison again, to resist the allure of wine. Wolves are not the children of the wind, and the land of wine and song is not their home. So the wolves left the human's domain and settled far off in the wilderness and deep in the mountain forests, places where the scent of wine could not reach them. What you humans call wine, we wolves call the abyss, the wolf haughtily concluded. But as the wolf turned towards the drunkard to say this line, it discovered that the drunkard was now lying fast asleep on a bed of pine branches. The wolf was most displeased and violently expelled a puff of air from its nostrils before leaving the still pungent pile of sleeping human to his business and going on its way. Okay. So here's the thing. This drunkard, how the story starts with this drunkard wandering into the forest. Pretty sure that's Venti. And then the wolf tells a story back to the drunkard, referencing Venti again. What they put in that wine? The good stuff. Apples. Apple wine. Yeah, the abyss line. I don't know what Dionys is, so I'm not gonna think about that. But yeah, there was that abyss line too. Yeah, but I immediately think that the drunkard in this story, the one that's wandering through the woods and such. That. Okay, I see what you mean. I thought you were referring to an actual character within the game, not just like the story. Yeah, not just like Gods of Wine in general. Yeah, sure. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure the drunkard is Venti, just because it's a person talking to a wolf. Of course, I mean, it could be written like in fairy tale, whatever, so it might not matter and stuff. But Venti is capable of talking to animals. Like nor on a regular basis. um Why don't we have any wolves in Genshin? There's boars and stuff too. The reason why we don't have wolves in Genshin, in my opinion, is probably because they were too hard to make. Same reason why we don't have horses in Genshin. Boars are easier because they just made a round body with little like stubby legs. It's not like they didn't really have to really work too hard on joints or have to figure out an animation because they can just have like dust clouds fly up, so you don't have to worry about like the details and stuff. That's why. That's the real reason why. They should have wolves. That'd be nice. Yes. I actually don't remember any seeing dead wolves. They had one. They had like a baby one. So once again, small and like stubby legs. They didn't have to worry too hard about it. It wasn't like a moving animated one. It was just like a still. Oh, sure, there's foxes in Inazuma. There's foxes in Dragonspine, too. Little white foxes. I gave them food. And they gave me treasure. Bigger foxes? Oh, cool. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense with the whole kitsune thing and stuff, like, you know. Like dog-sized ones. Interesting. Huh. Yeah. I'll have to see when I get there. But once again, Inazuma came later. So I don't know, maybe it's weird for them to go back and put more mobs in like an older area. I don't know their reasons. Sounds like they don't have an excuse, but now, do we actually get to pet the cat? Like, is there an animation of us reaching down and actually petting the cat? Or is it like we just walk up next to it, it says pet, you hit pet, and then the cat goes meow? Like, because they're both very different things. If they include an animation of the traveler physically touching the cat, then yes, that's a win. If not, doesn't count. So yeah, that doesn't count. That's a bullshit easy move in my opinion. Only the quest one does? Damn it. I didn't actually play the cat event. At the time, I was really scared of playing events. Wait, did the cat event come out before the Potion Ascension one? Or after? Because I played the Potion Ascension one. Okay. After? Damn it. Then I just missed it. I don't know where my head was. I was probably trying to edit something. And I just lost track of time. Yeah, I didn't play that one. I think I meant to play it. But I never did. Shoot. Oh well. Okay. Let's read one more. One more of these. Oh, actually, let's talk about it a little bit. Let's talk about this one a little bit. Yeah, that line. Where is it? Oh yeah. What you humans call wine, we wolves call the abyss. Yeah. There's all sorts of theories you can make off of that. That's good to know, Finish. That's good to know. Now, the thing that I'm thinking about is that what you humans call wine, we wolves call the abyss. The abyss, from my experience playing the game, is seen as the bad thing, the bad force that is within Genshin. I know everything is like a shade of gray. It depends on perspective and all that jazz, and there might be more that I figure out about it. But from my perspective as of right now, being only partway through Liyue, the abyss is bad. The abyss is darkness, chaos, corruption, all that stuff. All these kind of keywords are mentioned whenever they talk about the abyss. And that can be connected to wine because wine intoxicates you. It's an alcohol. It alters your behavior. It can make someone not as sharp. It could make someone more chaotic, make someone just corrupted in general, right? So like there's that connection to those things there. But then you have to think about, like you guys were saying, Dionysius, Bacchus, like those gods, which are all about like party and, you know, just being all light spirited, all that stuff. And then there's Venti as well. And we know Venti loves his wine. And I mentioned before in my video about Venti that I brought up the question, why does Venti drink? You know? I don't know specifically what Dionysus has done. I'm not too familiar with stuff, but sure. Gods in like stories, in these like myths and legends and stuff, they're not great beings. They're just like these forces of power, and for the most part are insanely greedy. Like, the only god that I could think of that did the least bad off the top of my head is probably Hades. Because everyone else is like a shitter for the most part. They always did something weird or messed up to people. Right, there's that too. There's that too, where things like this, like, you know, like you said, shrooms and other alcohols, acids, like whatever, were ways to connect to gods. Yeah, aside from kidnapping as well. I'm not saying he was great, but I'm just saying out of like, he was one of the least of the bad ones. Like, Zeus is god awful. We're not going to talk about what Zeus did. So I mean, you know, stuff like that. Yeah, Zeus is the worst, in my opinion, if we're talking about Greek gods. But anyway, but god lore stuff in general is always fascinating to me, and I just think it's interesting how the wolves call wine the abyss, but then we have a character such as Venti, who is an archon, who loves wine and is obviously a schemer, is definitely up to something, is hiding his, I don't want to say he's hiding his true potential. He's hiding his, well, he is hiding his potential, but he is also hiding his intentions overall, right? And I'm not saying that they're bad intentions, but he just knows something that we don't. And that's all there is to it. Osmanthus wine. Yeah, the gods so far seem to really enjoy wine. And it just makes you think. um, what do you think of a singing Seelie in the story? That is super fascinating to me as well. Um, the Seelies are still something way over my head for the most part. I haven't looked too much into Seelies. I just know that they're like a very old, they were a race of people or something. They were a kind of people before all this stuff. I don't really know. I think I'll be finding out stuff relatively soon. I don't know for sure, but I imagine meeting I would think that maybe whenever I meet Dainsleif, maybe I'll start learning more about Seelie stuff. I don't know that for sure. I'm just kind of guessing. Um, but I don't know. Seelies are fascinating. I do want to learn more about them. But whenever I see them in text or whatever, I'm just kind of like, huh. And I don't think about it too hard at the moment. But I probably should start trying to piece things together. In Inazuma or something? Okay, cool. Well, I'm not too far from Inazuma right now, so. Yeah, I could do that one. Read Moonlit Bamboo Forest. Is that if that's one of my completed ones, then I will do that. Oh, it's right there. Hell yeah. Okay, this will be the last one I read for the stream, and then maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. Hello, Gallant. I am doing fine. Just reading some books for a bit. You know, for a little bit before I have to get back to my work stuff. But thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Okay. We are going to read Moonlit Bamboo Forest. Thank you for the recommendation, Saint. This is the Genshin Book Club, yep. And then when this won't always be books. I'll be also doing streams where I look at artifact stuff and look at weapon descriptions and probably even listen to voice lines from characters that I have to start with. You know? So this will go in other directions. It's just me taking time to be more familiar with the background of things in this game so I can look at more things in the future, make more things. It's weird because like I want to make some lore theory videos like I did with the Venti one, but it's a little tough at the moment just because I'm just so early in the game. And I know someone else has probably already done a much better job for just having more knowledge about the game in general. So I feel a little bit like I don't want to put out what people might consider misinformation, even though that's not the intent. The Roshi Literature Club. Yeah. So we'll see. I definitely also want to do character study stuff. Right now, the video I'm working on, it's not a character study really, but I am trying to make a video about Amber, and it's more of a joke video of sorts, but there is some truth to it, where it's essentially me trying to prove that Amber is one of the best characters in Genshin Impact. Yeah. So that one's gonna get people all sorts of like confused, but sure. I mean, the gist of the video is that Amber is the MVP for early game Genshin Impact, especially for free-to-play players. You literally can't do a lot of stuff without her. Unless if you do polls and spend money. So. Best if you don't have others. Right. So. If you're someone who's trying to save up for that special character. Yeah, exactly. Good. And that's kind of the point. Of course, I have to clickbait a little bit and be like, you know, best character of Genshin Impact, but in the video you'll actually hear me discuss why she's the best early free-to-play character as far as like most utility and helpful. Yeah, exactly. So many puzzles require you to have a pyro archer, really. It's true. And there's a lot of people that are just kind of like, yeah, but you could have like Bennett, or you could get Diluc, or you could get Xiangling, and it's just like, yeah, but you pulled for those characters. They just give you Amber. And there's a chance that you might not get any of those guys. For the most part. So, yeah. Xiangling's also free, but here's the thing. Guoba sucks. So... I talk about it in my video, but to light things on fire, you need to use your skill. And you might miss because Guoba's targeting system is balls. Meanwhile, Amber, it's just her it's her normal charged attack. Which you have to wait 2 seconds to do it. That if you want to consider that a cooldown, and that's the cooldown right there. So she's better when it comes to solving puzzles and stuff. Not even Yanfei necessarily works. See, I didn't even know that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's pretty much it. It's just a video just kind of like making fun of other pyro characters while boosting up Amber, because I think Amber gets overlooked and gets too much shit for being like very basic. And I make fun of her for that too, but I still it's just meant to be like, don't counter out if you're like she was in the game and given to you as early as she was for a reason. They designed nearly all of the fire related puzzles in Mondstadt and a lot of Liyue based around her character. So how about Arlecchino? Arlecchino is super new. She just became a thing. And Arlecchino her range is way too wide. So if there's like posts that you need to light in a certain order next to each other or whatever, or totems, she's going to hit more than one, most likely. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's there's Linny, but there's Linny, he's super new. You have to pull for him. The game doesn't give you Linny. You know? So Amber is necessary. Amber is necessary unless if you pull for these other characters, which not everyone can do. She doesn't need her skill for pyro, but that still requires you to work up to that point, to get to that point, and it's not always available to you. Amber takes 2 seconds for her charged arrow. Amber is faster than Arlecchino when solving puzzles. Period. Because she can do it from a range, she doesn't have to run up to each target, and she doesn't have a specific thing, a specific status set in order for her to do her thing. Amber wins. She wins when solving fire puzzles, when you have to light things or hit totems, specifically when it comes to an order, or if things are too close to each other. She has the accuracy and the range for it, and it takes the least amount of time for her to do her thing. So, that's what that is. Honestly, it's not really even a contest. She just wins. She's good for puzzles. That's pretty much the point of the video. She's good for puzzles, which there's a lot of if you care about that kind of thing. She also gives you the stamina reduction thing when you're gliding, and like that being kind of handy, you know? Like you could solve that time and wind puzzle by gliding over there with Amber if you have some food on you. Which I didn't do in my video. And mine, I used Kaya because that's all I thought of at the time. But Yeah. So, that's pretty much it. You notice that Yanfei throws fireball slightly to her right, so aiming is pretty difficult? Yeah, sure. I'd never remove Amber in my exploration team. She's handy for exploration and puzzle solving, for sure. Amber, Yoimiya, Linny, I think, are the only pyro archers right now. Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't know. Yeah. Oh yeah, we struggled with that. Who's the worst starter? It's Lisa. Oh, Saint said the same thing. It's Lisa. Yeah, Lisa unfortunately is the worst starter. I think Lisa's character is great. Her abilities are cool and stuff. She's too slow, in my opinion. And you need other characters to make her like work well. Like I feel like if you have Lisa on your team, you need Noelle for the shield. Yeah, I don't know. She's too clunky for me. She's too slow. She's too clunky. Some YouTuber managed to light a pyro torch with Fischl. He couldn't replicate it though, so no clue how. Yeah, I call that a glitch. Sure, she could be great with stuff now. Um. Hi, Alora. Oh, Yoimiya too, since her homing arrows has the auto aiming. Sure, sure. Mm. You can overload the torches to create fire, I guess. I guess. But once again, I feel like that's too many steps when you could just shoot it with a fire arrow like almost immediately. When comparing to Amber. Yeah. So, I mean, like, I'm sure I'll get plenty of people in the comments section like, but you could just, like, you know, use Diluc, and I'm gonna be like, you missed the point. If anyone makes any comments in that video, it's like, you could just use this character, they've missed the entire point. You hate Kaya? I don't mind Kaya. Kaya's... I like that Kaya gives you more stamina when you're moving around, when you're running around and stuff. That's cool. And I like his burst. His elemental burst. And he does self-heal a tiny bit, which has saved me sometimes. Yeah, his AoE burst is good in my opinion. I'm not... He's kind of like a character I've had on my team for a long time because he was surprisingly probably the character that did the most damage for a long time on my team before I got and worked on better people. Yeah, the ice bridging. Right now, I really just pull Kaya back into my team if I want to do the ice bridge, or if I want to... I don't know, sometimes I feel like using him. I like his burst. Unfortunately, the Traveler is super mid. And that upsets me greatly. Because I use Animo Ether mostly for his skill, because his skill is great in my opinion. But I would need better artifacts on him or something. Because right now, even with the sacrificial sword maxed out as far as it can be at this point in time, he still does like damage. Like, it's awesome that I can do 3,000 damage with one hit from Ether's elemental skill at the end of it when it kind of explodes outward. Cool. But then I have a character like Eula where a normal strike is anywhere between 1 and 3,000 damage. And her icicle explosion can be like 40,000. So it's a little rough, Ether. It's a little tough, buddy. Yeah. Fun fact, Kaya and Bennett have very similar normal attacks. My headcanon is that Kaya taught Bennett. Sure. I hope there's actually a reason. I get tired when I see the same attacks repeated, the same animations repeated. That bothers me a lot. I think it's lazy, unless if there is reason for it. So hopefully that is a reason for it. If not, then it is just laziness, unfortunately. That's just my opinion. Risley power creeps Ice. Yeah, Risley's better at Icebridger. Yeah, and Farina is just Jesus. Farina just walks on water. So kids these days don't know what it was like to get to that island. All right, kids these days don't know. They just get to walk on water like a god. Meanwhile, I'm over here with Kaya making an ice bridge for 30 minutes. So my heart hurts. Anyway, I shouldn't even be talking about this kind of stuff because I don't know. It's weird. I'm thinking about the Amber video again because it's like, it's not really like a build or whatever, but it does discuss her kit, and it's really weird for me to bring up that kind of thing because I've been very much like, I don't want to talk about meta. I don't care because ultimately it doesn't matter, and I truly do believe that. But at the same point, I still think I have to make this video, and I have to mention that stuff for it to make sense. So yeah, it's not like Amber's the best character to play the game with as far as like beating the content and stuff. She could be if you build her up, but it's like she's kind of important. Hey Drac, welcome. The fun thing is seeing co-op people bridging with 4 Kaya. That is funny. The worst battle puzzle experience? Mine was in Chansho Valley. 3 puzzles. One of them, a battler. I'm not sure if I've done that. No problem, Drac. I appreciate you just stopping by and hanging out. I know, like, this is a very new thing that I'm doing too. but no worries, man. You do you. Let's see. Oh, my worst puzzle experience? My worst puzzle experience was by far Cloud Retainer's domain. That was stupid because this is why I want to make the Amber video. Because you need Amber for that specific puzzle. You might get lucky and be able to do it with another Pyro character, but if you only have like the free ones, which is Xiangling and Amber, you can't do it with Xiangling. So I went in there with Xiangling because she does more damage. She's a better fighter than Amber in that kind of situation, and it made sense to me at the time, but Guoba sucks at puzzles. So you can't complete the puzzle with Guoba. You can do part of it, but you can't complete it because it gets too finicky at the end, and you need Amber. So that is my villain origin story. If I start becoming a bad guy in my videos, you start seeing this transformation, it's that. And then, oh man, wait till you see Dragon Spine, because that's a whole nother level. Like freaking, if Cloud Retainer's domain is my bad guy origin story, Dragon Spine, I think, is going to start my Joker arc. Like, we're talking about that kind of shit. I go insane. Last year's summer event map had timed gliding puzzles with those boost rings. It threw me off, of course. Right. Goba does suck at puzzles. His height and aiming are bad. Yeah, and sometimes he doesn't even hit the things that are right goddamn in front of him, and he'll hit the thing behind it for some reason, because that's cool. Right. Go to an Abyss. Yeah, she's good for combat. She's good for combat. She sucks at exploration. Period. Um, yeah. So if you were to go back and watch my video, you can kind of see at least the edited version of me losing my mind trying to deal with Guoba in Cloud Retainer's domain. It was awful. Um, it made me so mad, and I want to thank my editor, Earth, so much for making it funny, because at the time it was not funny. I had to. I still ranted, and I felt like I held so much back. Dea becomes a god in Dragonspine. Yeah, I know. I know. Dea recovers health on her own, and that's awesome. Yeah, when she hits 40% HP, when she has her second passive unlocked. Haven't used it on Dragonspine myself, but probably makes it a lot easier. Yeah, I'm sure she makes Dragonspine a breeze just because of that. That's awesome. And I know not like having tanks isn't really a thing in Genshin, but she is like the tank because of that. So it's weird. It's weird that they introduced like that idea of like, here's this type of character that we don't normally have and that you guys will never use, and then everyone gets upset that it's like, oh, but she's not a DPS character. It's like, well, because we made her a tank, which is a thing that's not in this game. It's like, okay, cool. So yeah. Um but yeah, I mean, that'd be cool just to like, even to have her on the team if you just needed to like turn your brain off. I guess you could turn your brain off with a lot of like optimal team comps and just hit a couple buttons, but yeah, it's fine. Yeah, people don't like Dea in combat. I almost want to pull Dea just so I can make a badass Dea. Not that I have the time to actually do that right now, but that'd be a fun thing to do one day, if possible. Yeah, exactly. You can make any character DPS, but it's like, but people will argue like, why do that when this other one can be a DPS easier? So people don't like Dea because Bennett exists. I'm be real. I really don't like Bennett, guys, and it's really just because of just getting some comments of people trying to say like, get Bennett. That's all it is. When someone says like, you have to do this, I react with, I'm not going to do that now. It's me being stubborn, but I hate Bennett for that reason. Even when I've tried to like look up my own stuff on occasion, as far as like, nothing like story wise, but I'm like, what do I need to improve my characters that I want to improve? And then like so many people in comment section are just like, just get Bennett. And I'm like, no, that's dumb. I hate that that's a thing. I'm not getting Bennett for that exact reason now. Right. Dea, once again, character tier list, in my opinion, Dea wins. She has one of the best character designs in the game. Burst reliant healing, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Bennett's cool that like whatever, he's got this bad luck thing, sure, relatable. Um and you know, he appears to be a good guy, I guess. But I don't know anything about him yet. And I guess the commenters of people who are just like all gung ho for Bennett just made me just not care for the guy as much. It's a shame. I felt like you for the longest time. Now I do use Bennett. Some team like, okay. Before I didn't because everyone was like, use Bennett. Man. Right. Yeah. Okay. Here's the reason. And maybe I've talked about this before with some people, but I have to say it here. People will say just use Bennett. He can do damage. He has his healing factor thing. He can buff you, and that's great. And that's like awesome. You should have that on your team because bigger numbers are funnier and cooler, right? That's like the whole thing there. Even if you don't like Bennett, just use him. You only need like a C0 Bennett just to use him for the abilities. You could put whatever artifacts on him. He's super easy to use. Blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Just use him for his utility. Okay, sure. But I'm playing a game because I want to play through the story, and I'm playing a game with characters on my team that I want to play with because I like those characters. Ideally, that's the direction I'm going in. I want to collect the characters that I like. So I don't really care about my team composition too much, to be honest, with as far as elemental reactions and such. Sure, I could do the Hyper Bloom, Dendro, whatever thing at some point. I don't care. I don't care about the big funny numbers because you don't need them to pass the story content in the game. Period. You don't need it whatsoever. For the Abyss, yes. But being a casual player that only cares about the lore, I don't give a fuck about the Abyss. I already got Xiangling from it. I got what I wanted. So that's pretty much it. So, and that's fine. So people can have Bennett, but I shouldn't be criticized to get Bennett. So I have this character that I don't like on my team that I only use for the burst, and in my opinion just takes up a character slot that I could have another character that I actually care about in that party instead. That's all that is. That's where my head's at. I just want characters that I want, that I like. I don't care about the mechanics too much. Sure, they can have great mechanics. I'm like, oh, wow, that's awesome. Maybe if they made Bennett, like, cool, I'd be like, yeah, great character. But I don't want him. You can finish the game with DPS Amber. Right, sure. Like, it doesn't matter, ultimately. Yeah. You spent 30 to 40 euros on getting Baiju just to spite Barbara? I don't mind Barbara, but it is like... I don't like that she gets your party wet too, and then you could freeze yourself. So for the freeze team, I think I'm inevitably going to end up getting, because I like a lot of cryo characters. Barbara's not going to be on that, so... Right, exactly. I would probably use her more if she didn't get me frozen. Yeah, meta players can't comprehend to play whoever you want. Yeah, I mean, once again, people can play whatever they want. If they want to go into meta, sure. But for a game like this, you just don't... You don't need it. If you're just trying to clear the content, you don't really need it. Xiangling followed. Thank you. Please don't eat me. I know, she heard me talking shit about Guoba. Damn it. Hey. He's a cuddly bear. What can I say? I'm sorry. Maybe you should get some glasses so he can, like, actually see what he's shooting his fire at. Yeah. Ooh. Here's the other thing. Sing Show. He's another... I mean, like, he's not as bad, but, like, he's another... Bennett, in my opinion, as far as people being like, yeah, have Xingqiu on your team. And I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to. Guy has a really... They fucked up his hair, man. That's not the only reason. I don't know. He's fun to play. I've admitted that when playing his story quest. He's fun to play. But I don't know. It's pretty annoying with ice enemies too. Sure. Yeah. Yeah, waifu's over meta 100%. Even husbando's over meta 100%. I play Kaza, Kokomi, Farina, so I won't use Singcho. Right. Here's the thing. The team that I would want, Ganyu, of course. I want Ganyu to be like my main DPS, right? And then I like to get Shenhe, right? And then Mona or Kokomi. Mona or Kokomi as the Hydro. And then the last one, honestly, probably an Animo character. So probably either someone like Venti or Kazuha. That's probably what I would want. But I don't know. I'm not 100% sure on that yet. Or Sucrose. That's right. Yeah, Sucrose. I like Sucrose as well. I've played with Sucrose. If you go Mona, you need a healer for the last slot, or I just don't get hit because I'm that good of a gamer. As you guys know, I'm so good at games. When do I ever get hit? Come on. Just use a healer Mona then, right? With Ganyu, psh, I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine. Yeah. Here's the other thing. I don't want to get Zhongli. I like Zhongli, and I think I will want. Let me rephrase that. I know I said Venti, and that's why I'm not sure if I'd want Venti because he's another bow user, and he's also an Archon. I don't know if I want any of the Archons on my team. I feel like Venti's an exception, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'd want that. Why? I'm not sure. Having an Archon on your team is too easy. It's too easy. I don't want to feel like I can just apply a shield to myself and then I'm like fine. I don't know. That's kind of like a bad reason, I guess. But same reason for like Nahida because she's pretty strong too, I think. Yeah. Eventually I would want to. I'm not saying I'm totally against it, but like right now, I feel like that's not what I want. I don't feel like I want that for some reason. Karara is also a pretty good shielder. I didn't know that she could shield. Or either that or I forgot. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a good excuse. I just think Zhongli is like super easy mode. And maybe that's what I'm gonna need because I'm just kicking my own ass at that point for not accepting Zhongli. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. A shielder would be a good idea though. A shielder or a healer. So I'll have to figure something out. Okay. I gotta read this because I have things to do today. Um. Okay. So, Moonlit Bamboo Forest. Between the rustling emerald curtains of foliage, in a spot where the croaks of frogs and shrills of cicadas meet, lies a corner of the forest that is withered and dry, just near the wetlands beneath the mountain crags. The bamboo forest of Mount Chingsa is the verdant home to many fables. After a spell of rain, a cadence of drips and drops could be heard bouncing from the bamboo leaves and hollow bamboo stalks. Along a winding path between the bamboo spires came a young boy. He swiftly made his way along the trail, climbing up damp crags and running down its paved mossy course. The leaves of tangled foliage and vines strewn across his path brushed against his skin. The boy finally decided to stop for a rest at a dried and withering spot among the creaking bamboo of Mount Chingsa, tucked away below the mountain rock. The boy clearly remembered the village elder once saying that the rainy season was the proper time for the fox to take its wife. Only the eyes of a child could ever see the fox bride's crimson sedan chair and its procession dancing through the forest accompanied by strains of music and thumping drums. The village elder also warned the kids mustn't approach any such procession. If you wander too close, the fox will snatch your soul away. That's what the village elder always said. What happens if your soul gets snatched? Asked one of the kids. Once the fox has your soul, your fate will be forever sealed. Perhaps they will use you for music in their processions, smashing you like a cymbal and beating you like a drum. Horns blaring all around, there will be no rest for your soul. The elder would never forget to pose as if she were beating a drum while she spoke, scaring the little ones all the more. As the boy grew older, he stopped believing the elder's silly fables. Following the Seely's wispy trails, he passed through the green labyrinth, accompanied by the faint calls of foxes coming from the thicket along the way. Those crafty creatures, hiding deep in the forest, will seldom reveal themselves or their boisterous bridal processions to careless treading travelers. The boy was in rather low spirits, kicking pebbles off of the road and stomping up the naturally occurring stone steps along the way, wandering further into the heart of the bamboo forest. The village elder once said that this very forest was once an ancient kingdom conquered by the Geo-Archon. But what did the Geo-Archon look like? Did it have arms and legs, or eyes like us? Or was he more like the stone beasts found along the water banks? The herb gatherers that periodically set up shop in the city to sell their herbal ingredients would always bring tales of that year's rite of descension. Listening to their stories, one could only imagine the amazing scene of the Geo-Archon descending to the world. But of course, the curious kids could only hope to someday see the great Archon that had been revered for generations with their very own eyes. Was the immovable Mount Chingsa a gift from the benevolent Geo-Archon? And were the descendants of peace and the long lives that had been enjoyed by generations of peoples here preordained by the Archon? The answers to these questions lay outside the village, within the aging forest on the mountain. Bubbling with questions and expectation, the determined boy made his way forward beneath the scattered shadows of bamboo leaves. Okay. Volume 2. Lost among the green bamboo canopy, the young lad soon met an unexpected companion. "What's the matter? Are you lost?" The lad heard a gentle voice among the rustling bamboo stalks, speaking with a hint of sarcastic playfulness. The lad turned to see a slender woman garbed in white. She stood beside a clear, babbling brook, with beads of water glistening on her woven rush raincoat, her golden eyes melding with the rays cast through the forest by the setting sun. The village elder had said that there were once white horses that would leap from clear springs to become adepti to assist the campaigns of the Lord of Geo, but no one had ever specified which spring, or the honorable name of the illuminated beast that sprang from it. Besides, the woman that stood before him now didn't appear to be an adeptus, apart from the piercing gaze of her golden eyes. Furthermore, he had never heard of any adepti that needed to wear raincoats. Well, if it isn't another fool, the lady garbed in white began to chuckle, squinting her eyes with a smile. Who are you calling a fool? Replied the young lad in a fluster. This was certainly no adeptus. Who had ever heard of an adeptus that would speak in such a deplorable manner? I wish to embark on an adventure. I want to sail across the seas and witness the stone spears of the Lord of Geo for myself. You've only just embarked on your journey, and yet you've already fallen astray among the bamboo forest. The woman's reply was calm and even, a subtle smirk playing over her eyes. Already, the lad found her particularly annoying. I don't need your... There's no shame in being lost. Come, follow me. I will lead you out of here. The woman snickered and extended her slender hand toward the boy. Her white skin glimmered under the rays of the sunset that shone between the bamboo leaves. Thank you. The young lad took her outstretched hand. Her skin was cold and damp to the touch, much like fresh rain upon a mountain or dewdrop upon a bamboo shoot. The setting sun gradually disappeared behind the mountain ridge, and the afterglow in the clear sky above gradually grew dim. The village elder always used to say that once the warm glow of the setting sun fades, the cold and murky atmosphere of the mountain woods becomes a perfect breeding ground for monsters. These monsters are born from a past that has long gone, their spirits forming from the resentment and unwillingness of the dead. Any bamboo they ensnare will dry up and die, and any person they ensnare will similarly grow weary and fade from existence. Sometimes they will even call upon passerby to assist them with matters that they could not accomplish on their own, before leading them into a trap from which they would never return. Other times, they would act as a guide for innocent travelers, leading them to a den of demons. So you see, little ones, you must stay vigilant and never let your guard down when you journey far from familiar soil. Thus would say the village elder, patting the kids on their heads as she finished the story. Come to think of it, could this woman in white be a monster of the mountain woods? The lad grew nervous in his heart and couldn't help but slow his pace. What's the matter? The woman turned around, her golden eyes shining through the moonlight draping over her silhouette. Chat, would you just, if you saw this gorgeous lady in white with golden eyes in the middle of a bamboo forest and she said, "Hey, come with me," would you go? Would you go hang out with them? Would you be like, yeah? Sure, why not? Definitely? Alright. Fair. Not really? Okay. Fair. Your dad has a saying, those who ask never get lost. Just a rough translation. True. Do you need to ask? I'm a monster lover for eternity. I don't know what you mean. There's no way this character's a monster. What? It's just a woman in a bamboo forest. What? That's crazy. Alright, I'm gonna continue. Nightfall seemed to always hasten its approach over the bamboo forest of Mount Chingsa. Gazing upward, the silvery moonlight was scattered amidst the shadows of the bamboo forest leaves, and a spot of illuminated under the moonlight, far from the croaking frogs and chirping cicadas. New bamboo culms had just sprouted from the ground. The bamboo forest of Mount Chingsa is the verdant home to many fables. As nightfall, the woman garbed in white began to recount many stories to the young lad, ancient tales that the lad had never heard before. Moons. Long ago, 3 bright moons once hung high in the night sky. These 3 moons were sisters, their years numbering more than those of the Geo-Archon, and their year of birth predated the very bedrock upon which Liyue Harbor now rests. The moons were daughters of prose and song, sovereign over the night sky. They navigated the heavens above in their silver carriage, alternating with one another thrice a month. If the rain was not promptly passed from one sister to the next, a terrible disaster would occur that very day. These 3 luminous moons shared but one love, the stars of daybreak. Only at the fleeting moments when day and night converged could one of the 3 sisters pass the fading stars and gaze upon the chambers of the morning stars. Moments later, as the new dawn would break over the horizon, the carriage would quickly ferry the night sister away. The 3 sisters shared an equal affection for their one and only love, much like the affection they shared for one another. But this was all before the world was smashed against the tides of great calamity. With time, disasters overturned the sovereign carriage and laid ruin to the halls of the stars. The 3 sisters of the night turned against one another, leading to their eternal parting by death. Only one of their pale corpses now remains, ever shedding its cold light. Damn. The woman raised her head and gazed at the moon through the sea of bamboo. Her long, slender neck was covered in the silver light, and her eyes shone gold. The wolf packs are children of the moons. They remember the calamities and the tragedies that ensued. Hence, they lament the fate of their mother, with each new moon. It is also why those who live among the wolves call the morning stars the surviving love of the moon, the grievous stars. I see. The young lady remained silent for some time. This was a story that the village elders had never told before. Perhaps it was a legend that even the oldest of elders had never heard before. It was a grander tale than those about foxes taking brides and monsters ensnaring people, but a less riveting one than those about the Lord of Geo driving away evil spirits. The woman's tales were almost like a dream of the imagination. These are stories that have never been told, legends that have already been long forgotten by people. The woman garbed in white gently stroked the lad's hair and lowered her eyelids. The golden color of her eyes grew a little darker. Before the ancient immortals established the universe, there were gods that wandered across the lands. It was at this time that many of the Adepti came into being. But what about before then? Only broken memories and fragments of the past were turned into stories, and stories turned into legends, passed down among the people. Even deities and Adepti would feel sentimental upon hearing such ancient memories that surpassed the mortal world. The woman let out a long sigh and turned to find the young lad fast asleep. Just unbelievable. With a weary smile, she took off her raincoat and placed it over the young lad. That night, the lad dreamt of 3 moons in the sky, and a silver carriage stopped before the gates of the stars. Holy crap! Okay. Yeah. Okay. Volume 4. As day slowly dawned. The young boy was gently awakened. Day breaks, light silhouetted the white mist that shrouded the bamboo forest, of which tales of ghostly foxes were told. The vapor seemed like a horsetail, as it billowed this way and that. The woman held his hand, and together they walked toward the place where the sun pierced through the woods. They turned left, then right, passing through undergrowth teeming with insects, clambering over slippery moss-covered stones, scaling down a gorge hidden by the shadows of the bamboo forest. All the way she led him, till they arrived at the exit of the bamboo forest. I still don't know who you are or where you're from, said the boy, for the previous night's story had yet to leave his mind. ... The woman turned, and with her back to the morning light, her eyes shone gold. But she merely smiled and said nothing. Many years later, the boy, who was a boy no longer, would remember that moment, and he would understand. The gap between them was as a yawning chasm. His fate was to leave his home and go to Liyue Harbor, to seek the riches the Geo Archon had bestowed upon him. Hers, then, was to hide herself away from the majestic, kindly gaze of that great Lord of Geo, and protect those ancient tales that once she was beginning to forget. So, the boy and the white-clad, golden-eyed woman were parted. He would pack his things and head for that thriving port city, while she stood silently at the boundaries of the bamboo forest. For in her bewitching eyes, she seemed to have already foreseen the young man's fate, that someday, when he was old, tired of the sea and the waves of life, he would slowly return to his mountain village, and there he would live out the rest of his days. In the dawn's glow, the boy heard a whinnying cry, and then grew distant. He turned and looked, and there was nothing behind him, but a single strand of hair that had come to rest on his shoulder. I wonder if Tales of the Waves is connected to this, because they say waves of life here. I don't... Yeah. So that was that was a thing. That's oh, thank you for Liz Fire Fury. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. I like that. That was a good one. There's a few different directions. I love that it talked about the moons. Oh my god. Because I've been waiting for some moon stuff, you know? So I was I'm happy that I got that story. 3 moons. 3 sisters. And the one that remains is a corpse. Supposedly. That's wild. Yeah, I am aware that the sky is fake. The moon is supposedly a dead god, which is wild to think about. I figured out a bunch of, or figured out, but I recently witnessed a bunch of dragon spine related stuff. The nail. There's another moon sitting in the spiral abyss. Oh. Interesting. Yeah, the star thing looks very yeah, it's a thing. I feel like I want to make a video about that someday, but I have so much more to look into, I think, before I do. It's going to be a while. A lot of the theories that I think I want to make aren't going to happen until I actually catch up, which is crazy because that's going to take forever. Thank you for being here. The reading's been good. So here's the thing. I was going to end stream, but I think I'll read one more. And let's see. But I'm going to make it one that's not too long. That's way too long. I'm not going to read that one. It's going to be a shorter one if I could help it. This is 3 volumes. It might be Tales from the Waves. I might just do that one. Customs of Liyue. Records of the Gallant might do that, because that's only 2. Breeze amidst the forest. String of Pearls. That's a longer one. I could save that for next time. Heart's Desire. That's a longer one. I might do that next time. Legend of the Lone Sword. I'll wait till next time for that one. Okay. I'll do Records of the Gallant, I think. Yeah. Okay, guy, I admit Genshin lore is as vast and difficult as Elden Ring. I would almost say... I don't know, actually. I don't want to actually say that. I like Elden Ring, and I like Elden Ring's lore and stuff too. But maybe it's just because I know more about Elden Ring off the top of my head right now because I played through it. But then again, I haven't looked up any lore videos of Genshin or Elden Ring. But I feel like there's many more pockets of lore in Genshin than Elden Ring, in my opinion. Elden Ring has a lot of lore, like characters, stuff, and like there's the overall story, and that goes pretty deep and stuff like that. But Genshin has multiple regions, and then you got like the moons, and then you have each Archon with their own thing going on, and yeah. Right, that's the other thing. Genshin's isn't even finished yet. Or perhaps it's finished, but it's not like it's not revealed to us all. Like it's not all revealed to us yet, is what I'm trying to say as far as being finished goes. Yeah, Elden Ring's world building is great. Uh, Genshin also has good lore building, despite it not being fully revealed yet. Um, okay. I'm going to read records of the Gallant, and then I will end stream after that. But yeah, so let's get into this. Only 2 volumes, so it won't take too long. Okay. Volume 1, The Hermit. The stone forest of Juyun Karst is a mysterious place engulfed in mist all year round. Myths and legends abound among the herb gatherers, telling of adepti and evil spirits. Once there was a herb seller named Changu, my apologies, who went to Juyun Karst to investigate the distribution of medical herbs there. Unbeknownst to him, a group of brigands had followed him into the mountains. They waited for cover of night, and when he let his guard down, they struck. He was knocked unconscious. The brigands grabbed his possessions, bound him from head to foot, and left him alone in the valley. Deep in the night, the herb seller finally awoke. He struggled against the ropes that bound him and cried out for help, but the vast mountains did not respond. The only sounds to be heard in the thick mountain forest, save for the echoes of his own pitiful wails, were the faint cries of the birds disturbed by them. Sorry. Thank you for the follow, Tebin. I appreciate it. Changu sank into despair and sighed with sorrow. Just when he thought all hope was lost, a deep voice came rumbling through the mountains, cutting through the cries of nocturnal birds and the whistling of the wind. "Arise!" "I am unable to," the herb seller protested amidst flood of tears. His cry frightened off a fox that was prowling in the night, but as he tensed his body was once again the ropes that bound him. Wait, what? But as he tensed his body once more against the ropes that bound him, he discovered that they had completely loosened. The herb seller stood up. No sooner had an artisan than the disembodied voice, without pausing to hear the expression of gratitude that would be customary in such situations, spoke to him once more. "Ascend!" As instructed, Changus ascended the mountain, following the wind dirt track to the summit as the horizon began to glow in the east. From the summit he saw a twisted and withered pine growing on a cliff, its branches sprawling outwards as if trying to escape into the air. The gentle cracking of branches drew his attention to the ropes that hung from them, at the other end of which hung the brigands from the night before, bound in like fashion from head to foot. Then he saw the old man whose voice he had heard. His hair and beard as white as snow sat atop a curiously shaped rock as if it were his throne. The old man took one look at Changu's disheveled appearance and grinned mischievously before returning his possessions to him intact. Changu inquired as to the old man's origins, but he replied that he belonged to the mountains, his home being wherever he roamed, and his bed being wherever he laid his head. Changu sought to thank the old man with all manner of courtesies and compensations, but he dismissed them all. After much deliberation, he took just a single mora to one day give as a wedding gift to Changu's beloved daughter, in order that he might attend the wedding feast. Out of disasters seemed to spring forth good fortune, for following this incident, Changu's store grew ever more popular, while word of the wealthy herb seller himself spread far and wide. Some say that after making his fortune, he returned to Juyun Karst in search of the old man, but found nothing save for a few abandoned tents and empty wine bottles. Some claim to have spotted the old man at Yaoguang Shoal, disguised as a miner, and darted around like the wind between precipices. Others insist he is a fisherman who spends his time saving those who became stranded at sea. The stories are too many to count, and yet no one knows the old man's name. Lamentably, age and ill health have now ushered in the twilight years of Changu's life, while his beloved daughter remains unmarried. Perhaps the day will still come that the old man from the mountain attends the wedding feast, but that day seems impossibly far in the future for Changu. Okay, Volume 2. The land of the Iwa was not always ruled by Rex Lapis. Many gods walked the land in that distant epoch. The area known as the Gili Plains was once an area lush with glaze lilies, but it was beset by troubles on every side, forcing its residents of old to flee, while the prosperity of Liyue Harbor would attract many of those who took their place. But even so, many tales of gallantry continued to circulate in these wilds. In the tales of traveling merchants and porters, there was once a mysterious figure that would surface in the dead of night upon the plains. It was a maiden in a long indigo robe, striding along the shallows of the Bishui River, the moon wrapping her face with silver light as the night wind carried her words up to the shimmering, sleepless stars. Man, they like using the moon a lot. According to guests at Wangshu Inn, only those who got lost amid the firefly lights on summer nights might see her, and only those who can discern the scent of glaze lilies amid the dancing lights and seely floating in the dark could find her tracks. Some guessed that she might be a lost illuminated beast, or a sole servant of some long-dead god, gently mourning her master only at night. And some also believed her to simply be a gallant hero, like those who spurn civilization, hiding their real names. No one knows how her story began, but it ended with the tale of a certain hunter. But unlike the stories of those merchants, the hunter encountered her brandishing a sword against several perilous shadows under the merciless moonlight. After an elegant and sharp dance, the maiden was nowhere to be seen, with naught left but a pile of bloody dust. The next day, some inquisitive citizens would discover the corpses of Moonlit and land surveyors by the river. After this, no matter how many search parties the Ministry of Civil Affairs would send, no one saw that riverside maiden ever again. Perhaps that deadly dance was the fruit of some vendetta, or perhaps that woman had herself been some great brigand, or perhaps that matter does not require any rhyme or reason at all. Heroes are heroes, after all, drawing their blades for reasons beyond common comprehension. But as the lights of Liyue Harbor consumed the deserted countryside villages day by day, this legend too would slowly disappear. Still, the legends hold that the riverbank that maiden had used to roam remains filled with blooming glaze lilies to this day. Oh my god. Oh my god. Yeah. Well, that's cool. The first one is referring to an an Adeptus, right? The old man. I'm wondering if it's an Adeptus that we've heard about before. I mean, the game makes it very like, you know, there's quite a few of them. I mean, they're not like super common, but there have been plenty of Adepti within the world. And this one I like is cool. Oh man, there was a part how they worded it that made me go like, what? This right here. No one knows how her story began. So we don't know her origin. But it ended with the tale of a certain hunter. But unlike the stories of those merchants, the hunter encountered her brandishing a sword against several perilous shadows under the merciless moonlight. Why phrase it in such a way? After an elegant and sharp dance, the maiden was nowhere to be seen, with naught left but a pile of bloody dust. So when they say hunter, that could be at least my not first encounter, but like, I guess actually reading about it. Was it the Marchose hunters or whatever they're called? I don't know how to pronounce it. Maybe that has something to do with that being like, or it could just be a random hunter in general being a witness to what happened, that he saw this sword wielding maiden against a bunch of figures, and then nothing was left. Bloody dust. Wait. Hold on. Guizhong? Is this the end of Guizhong? Wasn't Guizhong dust? No. Guizhong is not dust. Is Guizhong dust? She is the god of dust, yes. Yes. Okay. Right. Naught was left but a pile of bloody dust. Yeah, it could be a long-winded metaphor. Yeah, I've been in the Havria domain for Zhongli's first story quest. I've done that. All I know, this is surely not Guizhong. Yeah. Oh. So we're referring that the people that possibly killed this potential god, maybe a god, we don't know, but gods walked the planet and all that stuff. They may that those figures may be the Glaze Lilies. If that's what's left behind. Yeah, I don't know though. I'm just thinking because Guizhong did seem to disappear, but maybe there is something I'm missing. Even though I know about the Guili Plains, and I found Guizhong's little hideaway. And there's like a domain that's in reference to her. There would have been some kind of explosion of dust or something when Guizhong died. I don't think that's necessarily true. I mean, yes. Yes, I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'll find out when I get to the Lantern Rite quests. Okay. Alright, then that's fine. I mean, we got Guizhong lore pretty early in the game. But yeah, if you're saying like it continues more, then I'll wait and just see for myself. So yeah, this could be someone completely different in that case. If you guys are saying that there's more to learn about Guizhong, then sure. I won't jump to conclusions. I'm just caught off guard by the pile of bloodied dust. Then again, I know gods can die, but do they bleed? Why would it be bloodied? Anyway. Okay. But this was very cool to get like this snippet of this kind of thing. Okay. Well, I'll be watching the Lantern Rite stuff at some point. It'll just be later. Yeah, I might do like a little Lantern Rite viewing thing when the next Lantern Rite comes. I'll make some kind of video about it. Just watch all those scenes together. So I'll do that. Okay. But I do like this in general here. This is cool. I like how it says heroes are heroes after all, drawing their blades for reasons beyond common comprehension. I do like that. It's a good one. It's a good quote. But okay. I think I'm gonna wrap up here. Because I have things to do today. But thanks for joining me. I appreciate it, guys. You know, I'm going to be uploading this VOD to my VOD channel. So, yeah. I mean, those here who got to see it, you got to see it. Great. Cool. If you came late, then you can show up to that and see all the stuff that happened before. Tomorrow's stream as well? I'm not sure. It depends on what I get done today, to be 100% honest with you. If I do stream tomorrow, it might be Wuthering Waves. That's if I want to. But I will at least stream another time this week. I just don't know if it's tomorrow. But we'll see. I'll try. But yeah. That's it. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it as always. And yeah. I hope you all have a good one. Take care. And shine on, you crazy diamonds. Later.